You ever wonder how a company gets so big, so dominant, that its software is literally the backbone for the world's banks, airlines, and governments? Well, today we're talking about Oracle. This is the story of how a company, starting with nothing more than an academic paper, built a global software empire through pure grit, some seriously aggressive tactics, and of course, some world-changing innovation.
So, here's how we're going to break down their incredible journey. We'll start with that first spark of an idea, then get into their high-stakes race against the tech giant. We'll uncover the three-part blueprint they used to build the empire, look at the key technologies that basically locked everyone in, and finally, see how they're fighting for their life in the age of the cloud.
This right here really says it all, doesn't it? The journey from a small, hungry team to a massive corporate titan, it's a heck of a transformation. And honestly, understanding how they pulled it off is like a masterclass in business strategy and disruption. So let's dive in, right at the very beginning.
Oracle's whole story really kicks off with one big, ambitious question. How do you take a brilliant idea stuck in an academic paper and turn it into a real product that businesses will actually spend money on?
So get this, back in 1977, you've got Larry Ellison, Bob Miner, and Ed Oates, and they've got this one single-minded goal. They want to take this theoretical concept about relational databases, an idea from an IBM research paper, by the way, and make it a real thing. And while the giants were still just thinking about it, this tiny team in just 2 years actually did it. They launched the world's very first commercial SQL database. Incredible.
Oh, you've gotta love this. Their first ever product, it wasn't called version 1. Nope. They called it Oracle V2. They just completely skipped version 1. It was pure marketing genius. A slick move to make a brand new product from a nobody startup seem way more mature and reliable than it was. This little trick tells you everything you need to know about that aggressive win-at-all-costs culture that was baked into Oracle from day one.
Okay, so they had a product on the market, but that's when they found themselves in a race for their lives. And their main competitor? It wasn't some other little startup. It was the biggest, baddest name in tech at the time, IBM.
I mean, this slide just lays it all out. You had IBM, the big, slow, methodical tortoise, the company that literally invented the theory they were all working off of. And then you had Oracle, this scrappy, lightning-fast rocket ship. IBM was just stuck in endless research, worried about hurting its existing business. Oracle, they cared about one thing: selling. They beat IBM to the market and grabbed a head start that they would never, ever give up.
Now, getting to market first is one thing, but staying on top, that takes a real plan. Oracle's insane growth wasn't an accident. It was a carefully executed three-part blueprint for taking over the entire market.
Let's break this blueprint down because it's brilliant. First, they built this legendary hyper-aggressive sales team that went straight for the big businesses. Second, portability. While IBM stuff only worked on their own expensive mainframes, Oracle made a promise: our software will run on almost any computer. That was a total game changer for customers. And finally, they were smart. They embraced industry standards like ANSI SQL. This made them look like the safe default choice for anyone building a serious database.
Okay, so with their market position solid, Oracle's next play was to build a technological fortress around it. They started rolling out this arsenal of powerful features, innovations that would become industry standards, and, more importantly, would make it almost impossible for their customers to ever leave.
And one of their key weapons was something called PL/SQL. So think of it this way. Before this, a database was basically just a fancy filing cabinet for information. But with PL/SQL, developers could now build the entire brain of their applications right inside the database itself. This made Oracle unbelievably powerful and incredibly sticky. The more you built with it, the harder it was to even think about switching to anything else.
And they just kept going. They introduced read consistency, which made sure huge, complex transactions didn't just crash and burn. They built Oracle RAC, which let massive companies run a single database across a whole cluster of computers for insane scale and reliability. They became the absolute leaders in online transaction processing, the tech that powers basically all banking and e-commerce. And they pioneered data warehousing for analyzing mountains of business data. Every single one of these features solved a billion-dollar problem for big companies.
And that brings us to today. The rise of cloud computing created a brand new battlefield, forcing this old-school giant to try and adapt while facing a whole new generation of super-fast rivals.
So what's Oracle's big answer to the cloud? It's the autonomous database. And it's a really audacious bet.
They're trying to build a database that uses AI to manage itself. It patches its own security holes, tunes its own performance. Basically, a database that never needs a human to look after it. It's a revolutionary idea for sure. But here's the twist. Oracle isn't the scrappy startup anymore. Now, they're the incumbent, and they're staring down a new generation of giants like Amazon's AWS and Snowflake that were born and raised in the cloud.
Which really brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Oracle built its entire empire by being the fast, aggressive disruptor. But now, it's the giant. And it's facing a new wave of disruptors that are faster and more agile. So can the company that once outsmarted IBM now outmaneuver the cloud? In a world of nimble rivals, can a legacy empire really still rule the future of data?